Good day, everybody. We will be with you in about 5 seconds here, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DYOR live show. We're getting started here. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is in the world you're coming to us from. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, and the man to my left over here is the one and only Pedro Garcia. Pedro, what is happening?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? How is everybody doing today? Everybody looks like they're doing fine. I see all of you guys hollering, saying what's up. So glad to have every one of you guys. It's good. It's actually really good to have every one of you guys.
You know, that StreamYard here, we tried to kick it off, right? No beginning, no nothing, just went live. And even I couldn't stand not having the intro music. So we're going to play that. Pedro, let's beat the algorithm at its own game. Let's keep people interested. Let's go right to BTC and what is going on with that.
I love it. All right, guys, let's check out BTC because BTC is having a fun time right now. It's really interesting to see what they're actually doing real quick. Here we go here. And right now we're seeing BTC go basically not necessarily down, not necessarily up. It's coming back down to an area where there potentially could be buyers and sellers. So this is what we're looking for. This is what we want to see happen within BTC. We've talked about this now for a while, and these are the things we want to see happen. Okay, so
and what is that, Pedro? Tom, what are we going to see here?
Tom, this is still messed up. You need to get that fixed because I'm trying to get this up and running. It's still not posted on DYOR Media. What is wrong? So, so here's the thing. We have the buyers coming in at lower levels. And so one of the things is, what we want to see is we want to see this thing find support. Okay, we want to see it find support. We want to see it find a way where it's going to go through and move up. And within that setting, we want to be able to sit there and see it hold at these levels. So that's what we're looking for right now. Right now it's a flip zone. So we got a couple of areas where we could see the actual buyers step in. Now we've talked about there were 3 scenarios that we could see currently right now. Prices coming up, hitting the highs and seeing a bit of a pullback, and then seeing it find support for a few days and push it back up. So I think that's what it's looking like we're going to sit there and see. We're going to see this thing drop back down, find support, and then from there, go sideways. Okay, I think we'll see that over this weekend. And then from there, continue up. It's nice that the seller volume is definitely at a lower than what it's been in the past. So that's it in a nutshell, Tom. Back to you.
Hold on, Pedro. I'm getting this tweet out on the DYOR Media Network X feed. Is the first time we're broadcasting this show from StreamYard directly on the DYOR feed. So the auto magic systems I had set up aren't working. Give me 1 second here to post this.
I know where it's then. Okay, we'll go over a little bit more in detail with what's going to happen here with BTC. So BTC is also, and we can go into some more of the smaller time frames here. We definitely saw a sell-off this morning where we always talk about in the mornings, right? As it pushes up in the evening, we should see a sell-off in the morning. And that's literally just exactly what we saw. We saw it push up, found some resistance on that 200. If we had the 8, you would sit there and see that we hit the 8 period moving average, which is this period. This 8 o'clock is an 8-hour period time change. So you can see how we came up here and then we sold off And then now we're definitely seeing it kind of flounder and kind of go sideways here. So we want to see some big volume coming in this next 8-hour period as we move forward. If we do lack volume as we come in here, we want to see it then kind of come around and basically come into our lower area. So I'm going to clean this up here for you guys just a little so we can kind of see this better. I'm going to move this sideways area, the light baby blue that I put up here, so we can sit there and see it.
All right, Pedro, I got the tweet out there for the DYOR Media Network, so you can post where you need to. And, of course, everyone joined us. Sorry for the quick beginning. We didn't have the long, drawn-out beginning today. We went right at it, went right to BTC to try and beat the algorithm at its own game. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, once again, welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. Thanks to everyone joining us. Thanks to God Almighty for joining us. Gotta imagine. Jesus, thanks for graduating from, I guess you tired of being Jesus and you moved up to God Almighty. Thanks. My son went to a Halloween party last night and didn't rise today.
That is awesome.
As Pedro says, what's up, everybody? Glad to have all of you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You know what I didn't do? I didn't get this show started on Twitch.
Awesome. Good to have all you guys. Definitely. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate you. You guys are absolutely amazing. So here we go. Now, what I find interesting in all of this is that what we're watching here is definitely a beautiful thing. With crypto, especially with Bitcoin, this consolidation period right here, as we're sitting, this is kind of like what I like to see, right? To see it push up, come back down, consolidate, and then see a really good mechanism as we sit there and look at this. So we'll go into that detail. Tom, if you want to go ahead and go into the intro, and then we can come right back to that.
All right, I'm going to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get the Rumble stream started. I always have that set up to start a few minutes into the show, so it hits right into the content. But Pedro and I changed it up today, and so we're going to... no, that's not the right tab. I got too many tabs open, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get this started here. 3, 2, and 1. Good day, everyone joining us on Rumble. Thanks for joining us, everyone on X. Thanks for joining us, everyone on Kick, and everyone on Twitch. Thanks for joining us on this special Friday edition of DYOR Live here. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking. The man to my left, one other than Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst, the guy who brings all the good technical analysis in ways you've never heard of before, which makes him just right many times more than we think is possible. That's the intro for him today. As I say, loving it. But anyway, Pedro, we were on the air here for a few minutes talking about BTC and its pullback. Much to the dismay of the Moon Boys out there, is kind of predicted. It goes up, it's got to come down, and before it can go up again. And that apparently is setting itself up. Is that what we were seeing earlier here, Pedro?
That's actually very, very correct.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take all the credit. Have a nice day. We'll see you tomorrow. Merrick's, thanks for joining us. The DYOR evening. Merrick's is coming to us somewhere in Europe. Thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it. Definitely. Thanks for sharing your Friday evening with us instead of your friends and or hot dates for the evening.
Absolutely. It's funny. You know,
absolutely.
I was looking at some stuff the other day, and one of the things that I definitely noticed, and this was really huge for me, in regards to the markets, is that there is this almost like, for us, I would say for crypto people, like this idea of, are we going to have a bull run? Like, is this where things are sitting, right? Like it's almost like we keep going, and then it's almost like this, jerk feeling. You ever have that moment when you're driving, right? Or somebody's driving, and you're trying to get into the passenger seat, and they're trying to open it up, and you're like, dude, why can't I get in this, right? So it's almost like that in a sense, where it's like, the market keeps being a jerk, and it doesn't let you open the door to get into the passenger seat in a sense, right? Like you're just waiting, like, come on, dude. So I just think it's funny. I think it's real funny when we're looking at that, what we're seeing, especially.
Well, I can only agree with you on that.
People start to get irritated, and that's actually what they want to see in the market. That's what's really interesting more than what is normal. I think it's funny. Yeah. I'm actually in the middle of kind of doing two things at one time, so that's why I'm.
Me too. I'm trying to get the word out on social media and on Telegram about our wonderful show going on here today. So everyone, bear with Pedro and I as we get started. But while you're doing those two things, I can do two things and talk here because the thumbnail for the show. I don't know how many of you noticed it. I mean, it was a masterpiece on my part. I'll just see if I can bring it back up here. Here, DYOR Live, election jitters, ladies and gentlemen, election jitters. And my genius here was coming up with the thumbnail that shows the green arrows with Trump and red arrows with Ms. Harris. And why that's genius is Pedro and I have been trying out the different algorithms, and they, as we all know now, the algorithms read your pictures now too, not just your text. And so we wanted to see if we could get different placements with different subtle cues in the thumbnails. And as you know, we've been pushing for, we're not pushing for it because we're not in no position to push for anything, but we believe that a Trump victory will be better for the crypto industry. And that's not just Pedro and I's opinion. That's shared amongst pretty much the entire financial world. and Ms. Harris may have all sorts of ideas about policy, but if Ms. Harris wins and Ms. Warren, the senator from Massachusetts, wins, we're going to see just more of the same of this BS, and the industry is going to be driven out of the U.S. even more than it has. One of the things I added to the show, the talk today about it, was the concept of the surveillance state here. And as we see with FinCEN here in Canada, FinTrack, and all the different federal organizations now demanding that we follow certain sanctions, certain procedures, certain things in the way we spend our money. It's almost a crime to do business in the United States in any sense of the manner at all. And you might think like, Tom, that's a little crazy. But the point is that you have to ensure every time you do business with someone, either a company or a person, you have to make sure they're not sanctioned by the U.S. government. And there's people inside the U.S. that are sanctioned by the U.S. government. There's Iranians, there's Russians, and you have to make sure they're not on the OFAC list. You have to make sure that you report certain transactions to FinCEN. And that even if you sell birthday cards at a flea market, technically, according to the law, you have to check the OFAC list to see if you're not doing something illegal, which means that even coffee shops that run on cash, by the spirit of the law, no, I'm not by the spirit of the law, by the technical reading of the law, every person has to make sure that they're not doing business with a foreign sanctioned person. And they don't give an out saying, well, you're just a retail place taking a credit card or taking cash. So we've set up this giant surveillance system that's failing. And under the Democrats, I believe it's going to continue. And I think with Trump and potentially Mr. Elon Musk with his Department of Government Efficiency, will eliminate a lot of this stuff. There's no reason that all these regulations have to exist like this. All it does is cost us money and keep the economy down. So that's kind of the overall topic for today. As we mix that topic in with, of course, Bitcoin, the woe was with Ethereum, the election in general, and of course our friends at KWIF, right, Pedro? KWIF is going to still, as if you haven't followed us already, KWIF is the first meme coin launched on Pump.fun by the founder, by Elon, the founder of Pump.fun, and it was sussed out by a group of people that Pedro follows and consorts with regularly. And they said, let's do a community takeover of this project because it was launched a year ago or so, Pedro.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can make of it. And they turned it from a nothing token into a nice pump token, and getting the word out about it. But they're ready to take it to the $100 million level. And I think with shows like us getting the word out and other KOLs, and I hate that word, I hate that term.
Dude, what does it stand for, KOL? I forget.
Key opinion leader.
Well, I wouldn't call myself that, but I think I do bring up some really interesting ideas and what we're seeing in the market and what we're actually seeing potentially with certain aspects that we talk about for legislation as well as innovation within crypto, within technology. It's just really interesting. This is going to be more of a side note, what I'm about to bring up. It's going to get
a side note.
But in the same sense, I don't know if anybody saw the new Boston Dynamic robot Atlas.
No. I mean, how new?
I mean, like 2 days ago.
Oh, no, I have not seen that.
Yeah, and it shows the robot walking around, turning, working without, it's complete automated, and it works by itself. And you give it a task and it literally pulls things out. And I sat there, I was watching that today, and I sat there and I was like, this right here is going to change the working in a matter of, I'd give it a year to 2 years, where it's just, a basic income will probably be needed in a matter of 5 years. This thing is, I wouldn't say it perfect, but with the speed that we saw from the last model to the current model, it still needed, they still needed a bunch of stuff. They still needed to program it. You can sit there and see its logic working, then it runs into an issue. It was so impressive that I sat there and I was literally like, it's just a matter of time. Like, if it keeps progressing, and they're saying the first place they're going to want to put it in is literally car dealerships in Japan.
Car dealerships?
Oh, excuse me, not car dealerships. Car manufacturing plants. And
well, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, Tesla has largely automated their production plant, and
absolutely.
Most of the people have moved not from assemblers but into programmers of those devices. And I personally, everyone says, oh, robots are and AI is going to replace all the jobs. Frankly, I think it'll just be like the Industrial Revolution. It'll just move the job skill levels up in robots and automation. It's just another step in automation. It might be a big step, but I don't think it's as doom as saying it's going to put everyone out of work. I think it'll just change. It'll change where people's jobs fall.
Well, I think what's interesting is that sitting there and seeing what is potentially going to happen, I think is more important, right? Like, I think the thing is when people can't sit there and engage, like, what potentially is going to happen, I think that's the most part where people get afraid of, right? And so being able to sit there and say, look, this is where things are going, right? This is how you need to sit there and prepare, right? Like, one of the things that we taught people, before the Industrial Revolution, right, was like farming stuff, things that you needed to do, things that you needed to be prepared for if you went to school. Obviously, mom and dad, they taught you things in regards to more of an agricultural mindset. Now, everything's industrialized in a sense, right, where the majority of the people now live in cities versus what we're seeing in like in the farm, which was like 100+ years ago, right? So I think what's in 100+ years old, 1920. I guess, yeah, I would say maybe 1900. So 120.
All I can say is, Pedro, your life's going by faster than you think there. You used to say 100 years ago, and it was like, man, that was the 1800s. Nope.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I remember that. Like, I remember it. So it's just interesting because when I look at where we're sitting at and what's actually happening in crypto, Like when we saw Godius Maximus sit there and it's trading its own thing, it created its own little system. And whether that's real or not, I think what's more important to pay attention to is just this idea that it is right upon us, right? Like we're seeing all these things happen. And crypto is going to be one of those ones that it's just going to be part of. And I actually was talking with Mr. Sessler over in he's running for Congress. And we were talking back and forth with him, or I was talking back and forth with him. And I said, the thing that you don't understand is sooner or later, these AI programs are going to create. And I told him this 8 months ago. I said, they're going to create cryptocurrencies where they will know how to perfectly trade it and mess with people's emotion to get them in and get them out, to create real income for itself. And again, this isn't some doomsday situation. I said there needs to be some framework in what to do and how to actually govern this, because it's sooner or later going to happen. Anytime you have a monetary situation that needs to happen, it will sooner or later evolve and see itself happen, right? And again, we saw it. So in the back sense, when it comes to crypto, when I'm sitting there seeing Bitcoin is being almost either held back in a sense, right? And I've talked about this. I think that the institutions want to see it dropping. They're trying to get people to get frustrated. They keep doing the card stop back and forth, right? And as it moves and continues in these levels, I think what we'll see is literally this movement of a crypto AI. And I think there's going to be different types of AI, right? Meaning, and I mean ASI, artificial super intelligence. I think there's going to be.
Oh God, even worse, the Borg.
Well, in a sense, I think they're going to govern. I mean, when we look at some of the open source AIs that are being really propelled to grow and push and move forward, right? They're bucking the trend of how artificial intelligence are being pushed and through MLMs, right? And so I just think it's one of those things that as we continue to move forward, we're going to see an evolution of how AI is created. And I think partially the way our brains work, like we work through chunking, right? We learn and we grow through chunking, taking information, analyzing it, and then we store it in small data sets in our brain. And when we need to get to it, we go back and we act on it. And so that's what partially creates the consciousness, because it's information and data that sway our emotions back and forth, our chemical compounds as they move forward in our neurological processes within the hormone system, right? And so I think what we'll see. What's up?
Is it okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being too techy, too technical. But what I'm saying is this, is that I think we'll see large ASI. And in that process, we should see then a way where that ASI needs to create some type of income so it can have influence, so it can have it, so it can save its own existence. Now, will that ASI deem to save its own existence? That's it for the human society and psyche, or sapient society as we live in. We have a biological need to create and to thrive, right? And to propagate and create babies. It is the way that we, through our genetic impulses, push us to create and move. Will the ASI have that? Because that's more of a biological push. And Joe Rogan talks about this a lot as well. So I'm not talking about anything that's like revolutionary. Talks a lot about this on his podcast and things like that. But what I think is interesting is
Joe Rogan, Taylor Swift, Mr. Beast.
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan, Taylor Swift, Swiftie.
Joe Rogan, 42 million views of his interview with Donald Trump.
Dude, I talk about stupid, like wow, like I said
42 million views.
Yeah, yeah, that was real.
Crypto Mel Gibson, welcome to the show.
What's
Sven,
up,
thanks for
guys?
joining us today. Really appreciate it. I forgot to post this in your room today, I believe. Thanks for joining us anyway, though.
Absolutely. So we just got a lot of stuff going on that is, I think, so interesting. And watching Bitcoin kind of flounder this way just almost makes me feel like we're getting screwed with, and like by the institutions. Like it would be, what would be the greatest FU to society, at least in crypto, right? Is really to see this thing just crash, right? And drop down to like these crazy levels I've talked about, like almost like a flash crash, right? And then all of a sudden everybody gets afraid, sells out, and the institutions just buy it back up.
Jeff Ledger in the house. What's up, guys? Gina in the house. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
What's up, guys? Good to see every one of you guys. Thanks for
Bell Gibson says, Sven says, isn't 74K a big liquidation point for shorts?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it depends on really how they're shorts. But yeah, it's really that 73,666, which is an interesting number, right? To those who are into those type of number things. So it potentially could be, but I think overall what we're seeing here is just that as they move forward here, and if it starts to find footing, and this is again what I expect to see. I expect us to see either we got a few places to find footing, right? One could be the 67 area mark, and then also on top of that 65,000 area mark. Again, that's where the 50 period moving average is down at that level, at 64,000. So there's a few points that we could actually find footing over the weekend, see it consolidate, and then see it push back up. So it'll be really interesting as we move forward with Bitcoin and what direction it wants to push. And I think we're in the hands of the institutions, right? I don't think there's a lot of retail trading right now. If anything, retail is literally going through and buying Bitcoin. But at the same time, we heard that Michael Saylor is looking to be buying here. We also know that BlackRock, JP Morgan, a lot of them are trying to get into Bitcoin before what we're seeing with Donald Trump. He is starting to pull ahead in the polls. Where nobody's seen that now, right?
Totally.
What's up?
I said, yeah, we're noticing it, and the news networks are noticing it, and Miss Harris's campaign is noticing it with the ruthless attacks they're coming out with lately.
Dude, I mean, like that. Some of them just outright lies, and some of them are like, wow, like that, like you name it, dude. And it's interesting is to sit there and see that. I think some of it is true. I do. I think some of it is true, and they were holding. They were expecting this. Right, so they were holding that stuff off until they can release it down the road. But because they've done so much, just almost backbiting him, like that, people just don't care anymore because it's like the latest numbers in regards to employment and creation of jobs. I mean, how do we go from having hundreds of thousands of jobs and the being created, right, and then revised in the actual government reports, where this administration has allowed to all of a sudden this month alone only having 12, or not this month, the previous month only having 12,000 jobs creation. How does that work? Like, how do you all of a sudden literally do a crypto chart, you rug on a government report? How does that work?
They rug the report.
Like, say, or have they been rugging it or inflating it, right? Have you had bots trading it up, and then when they realize they're gonna lose, they just throw in the buck and go, whatever, we're gonna lose. We got one more month in here now until we're done. I mean, it's what it looks like.
Well, a good example, Pedro, is just the subtle thing that came out about Biden calling the supporters of Trump garbage.
Yeah.
It was clear watching the video that he was referring to the supporters of Mr. Trump. It was very clear. You listen to his voice, and then the White House press office changed his transcript.
Yes,
to
literally.
make it look like they attempted to make it look like it was the supporters of that comedian, the people that believed in the comedian's disgraceful comment about the country or the island of Puerto Rico, and it was clear as day from watching it. And the White House subtly changed the text, and the stenography group that's charged by Congress to record everything the president says came out and said, "Hey, wait, they changed it. They can't do that because now the National Archives which we are in charge of making sure all this information gets to. For those of you that are foreign or just not astute to the ways of the White House, Congress passed a law a long time ago called the Presidential Records Act, and it directs the National Archives, which is under the Library of Congress, to retain all the communications by the president and everything he says, all his papers he creates, everything. And that's why you have all these libraries and all this type of stuff. And essentially, the White House committed a felony by changing the transcripts. And so what else have they changed? So now what they're going to do, the press is going to put the power of big computers on what the press office has released against what the National Archives are released. And they're going to pick every little thing that they've posted that's going to be different and just eviscerate them. And Pedro, was this one of the best political stunts of all time on your screen here?
Dude, that's exactly what I'm about to bring up. This right here was so genius.
It was epic.
And you talk about, like, he's kind of a genius marketing guy, right? Like, legit. Like, you got to give it up to him, right? But when I don't even think, here's the thing, I don't see him going into something like this, I don't think he said, go get a garbage truck and ride up in it. He's just not his flavor, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not to say that he's above it, but he's not going to sit there and say, hey, let's do that. And so I believe this came from his marketing team, and he sat there and went, yes. The genius of it was absolutely, and to watch Vivek, like, literally go through and just amazingly play this was amazing. I legitimately sat there and was like, how brilliant. And watching him actually go out, take the trash, dude, Vivek I stepped in, I said, every one of them was a genius. And they were so capable. And honestly, part of me truly felt like they were legitimately going, like they were having fun. Like, they were like, dude, let's do this more. Come on. I mean, watching the videos of these guys, and I sat there and I was like, like, from a marketing standpoint, applaud and amazement. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I think it was brilliant.
It was brilliant. First, I'm going to quick sidebar. Thanks to everyone joining us on X. We really appreciate it. My name is Tom, and this is otherwise known as Striking. This is Pedro above me here. We do a daily talk show called DYOR Live, all about crypto. And if you notice, because it's election season, we also talk a lot about politics and regulation, because one of two parties has set crypto regulation and finance in general. One party has said we are going to be favorable to the crypto industry, and one party says they hate it and wish it were to die. So we're not doing political sides here or trying to change your political views. We're just saying which one's going to be the best for our industry. So clearly we've been talking about Mr. Trump lately. But back to your topic, Pedro, I think it was just genius. I was watching the video of it, and I see he's climbing in the truck. I thought they're going to go for a ride. And he does the press conference from sitting in the garbage truck. It was so epic.
Epic. It was absolutely epic. I can't even sit there. Like, here's the thing. The fact that he was going to go up in a suit and do it, and they changed it out into the garbage man's, protective vest. What do they call that?
The high vis vest.
Yeah, the high vis vest, right? I sat there, I literally thought it was Photoshop when I first saw it. I legitimately was like, that's not even, nah. Right? Like, and to see him hold that, dude, I was like, crypto is secured. Like, I literally thought crypto.
And he walked out. Sorry, and he walked out onto his stage after that for his rally, wearing the vest and just standing there, and everyone's like the epic troll. I mean, as a student of the internet, Pedro, we understand what an epic troll is. And Donald Trump went from internet noob to someone that can do an epic troll like nobody else. And obviously he's got handlers and people to figure it out. Yeah. But he's clear, but he can pull it off. He's just not out there like Mr. Waltz from Minnesota with that dumb look on his face. Like, oh. He comes out with a look like, I'm in the dump truck and I'm going to answer your questions. But interesting, what I noted, welcome C Lady. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. What I noticed about this, he's in a truck. And I couldn't tell if the truck engine was running or not, but regardless, Trump's 78 years old. What is it, 78,
Yeah,
79?
he's almost 80 here.
He can see, he reads without reading glasses, and he
This
can
is
hear
huge.
the reporters outside where it's hard to
Clearly.
project your voice clearly and answer them clearly. And he's not going, huh? Huh? What? Huh? And there's no evidence of him wearing hearing aids either. I mean, otherwise the press would have picked it out. I mean, I've seen people with hearing aids so small you can't even hear it, or you can't even see it, really. But there's no evidence of it, and the press has never reported on it. So the man is just, I'll just go right and just say he's bulletproof. I mean, he's just, first of all, they tried to shoot him. That didn't work.
Twice.
Yeah, and then they tried to arrest him. They tried everything. Didn't work. But the man is still with it, and I got to give him credit. I hope when I'm 80 years old, all of the systems are still working.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So I actually followed this right here. It's called.
And I mean all of the systems.
I'm gonna point this out here. So I don't know if you saw this. I also thought this was really interesting too. So this guy, World of Statistics here, I follow him. He actually gets real data from real places, and he's good. Like, I like him. I've checked his stuff multiple times, and and sometimes I've been saying these are the statistics that I have found, and this is real, right? And so I've gone through, and he's done this now multiple times, where he gives who do you think is going to win, boom, 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 and every time it's always been kind of a neck and neck period between Trump and Harris, real, right? This is why I've said I don't know if Trump is going to go ahead, if he's really that far ahead. I didn't, okay? But recently he just posted the thing with who do you think is going to win the presidency, and Trump was almost ahead, a ridiculous, it was stupid. Because he posted his votes, and the guy gets a lot of interactions, a lot of with his from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. But his primary base here is in America. You can see them talking, and it was crazy. Oh, where is that? World Statistics, November. And if you guys haven't followed this guy just go. I say guy, but it could be female, a group of people, or non-binary. I'm not trying to pressure on anybody, right? I literally do that for you, Tom. Just there you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But in the same, I love it because the guy goes over stuff. He has his own YouTube stuff, and I think he's dope. But he did this thing on the election. Maybe if I go back to here. Oh, here it is. Boom. This was it right here. Who do you think will hope? And he posts. Look at the. I was so shocked. Look, and these are out of 8,000 connections. So I just think it's interesting to sit there and I think we should do that. I really think we should do something on Twitter where we post it out there and get it into mainstream and see really kind of where does this fall? Because I have a hard time with the pollings because nobody. It was funny. I even heard this in multiple places, and I've actually even talked about this. Have you ever been called by a pollster?
Not since probably the late 1990s, early 2000s, or something like that.
Okay,
Ever since I got rid of my landline, I get rid of the landline. I haven't had a landline telephone since 2008 or so. So since then, they don't call your cell phones.
I've got to figure out. We got to talk to
Let's talk to Justin about
Justin.
it.
We need to. We have a pollster who runs his own business, and it's literally what he does. And I just think it's interesting to sit there and see what actually works and see how they do it. But I've seen now multiple of these here on Twitter. Now, granted, Twitter is primarily libertarians and more conservative thought processy, right? A lot of the liberals aren't on here. But I would love to sit there and see it actually happen where we could see if people are really voting for Trump or Harris. You know what I'm saying? Per state, you could sit there and have them create a system, right? So I don't know. I would love to be able to see what the actual real numbers are.
But I'd like to see real numbers in anything politics.
Right. It's true. It's so true. It's almost saddening. So let's jump back into here real quick with the charts here. What we're seeing here with, I want to check out KWIF here because we got a lot of the KWIF guys here.
Check out the KWIF.
Now we're down at our areas.
KWIF guys, let's drop a comment here. Good afternoon, Derek B. Kaching is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. One of the OGs and original watchers of DYOR Live. Jen H, thanks for joining us. Jen H, happy Friday, Pedro and Tom. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Just catching up on a comment real quick. Most presidents age like 10x in office. He hasn't aged at all. It's wild. I know. Well, he spends $70,000 a year on his hair, so that probably helps.
He spends $70,000 on his hair, bro.
Yeah, well, we know that because he put it in his taxes that was released, and the IRS actually argued it, saying that's unrealistic. And he said no. He said my hair is part of my whole look. I do a reality TV show. It's part of my thing. And the IRS went, all right.
Well, have you ever seen Dave Chappelle's thing?
Go on. I don't know what you're going to talk about, Chappelle, but I know I'm going to laugh.
Dude, so he sits there, man, and I'm not joking. He sits there and goes, he's basically saying when Hillary and Trump were arguing in the first debate, and as they were arguing, he sits there and goes, the whole entire system is rigged. And she goes, no, it's not. And then he sits there and he goes, yes, it is. And she goes, give me reasons. And he goes, well, and so he talks about how people go through and donate to them and they get tax write-offs for it. And then additionally to that, because of it, I do it and your donors do it and they save tons of money on paying taxes and they get favors from it. And Dave Chappelle's whole entire shtick was is that he's an OG. He's a G for the people because he actually openly said this in an open forum for the whole entire United States of America to see. And then it says, and then he goes at the very end, he goes, and a star was born. and it was speaking of Trump. And I was just like, oh man, perfectly done. And then all of us immediately agreed. We were like, what? Like, we knew it, but never had it been so blatantly, like, black and white, put in front of your face. And he was just like, this is the way it is. Y'all need to change it if you don't want me to do it.
That's right. You got it, Pedro. You know who else has got it? That's right. Derek has got it because he gave it. And Pedro, you and I are going to have to pay the tax on $5. Derek, thank you very much for the super chat. We really appreciate it, as always. The money you guys contribute not only add to Pedro and I's Ibiza and beer fund, but also, really, the most important part, it shows the algorithm that the content we're putting out is worthwhile because our content separates you from your money. How about that? That's my new line. But thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Everyone that contributes to our show is in our thoughts and prayers all day long, at every time of the day. Oh, on that note, Pedro.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to come back to that topic I'm going to talk about. You take it from here, what you were going to talk about.
All right, let's talk about KWIF a little bit. So KWIF is seeing some consolidation area here. So it did come down and hit my area of that 0087 to the 0010 8 area. So I'm looking at that as an area of potential. This is not a nice little area of consolidation here. We also have one more other area here that I'm also looking to be picking up more of KWIF, and that's this lower level right here. So potentially we could see this come down to 001 to the 00 or 0002. So that would be, 0004 to the 0002. If it comes down here, man, that is just a sweet area to pick up some more of KWIF if you're looking to be doing that. I know personally I'm going to be doing that, so no financial advice. This is educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do not take anything here, as I say, as any advice. Anyhow, back to you, Tom. Hey.
Hold on, I've got a barking dog here.
Oh, it's all right. So let me go ahead and take over here. Shout out to God Almighty here. How much do I spend on my hair? Thank you so much for coming in, God Almighty. We appreciate you. Thank you. Say hello to your son. I talk with him daily. I hope he's a good friend of mine. I think I'm a good friend of his. But sometimes I'm not the most perfect guy in the world. But Tom, thank you. Jen H, thank you so much for coming in today. She's a personal friend. Appreciate you so much. You rock the mic. No Diddy. Oh man. Only up. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Infineon, thank you so much. Again, we also have a couple other new people in here. C Lady, thank you so much for being here.
We've seen C Lady before. Thank you for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Good point. It's been really interesting to see what we're seeing in this world, though. Really, really interesting. Jumping back here to this.
Hold on. I'm going to take it back, Pedro. Pedro, yesterday was an important day in the world of crypto for two reasons. One, it's the anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper coming out on Halloween. Yeah. Is when it was released in 2008. Not when Bitcoin started, but when the Bitcoin paper was released. And so it was a big day yesterday. So a lot of the OGs in the Bitcoin world were celebrating that. So big day is Halloween. You know what? But there's a second reason, which I consider an even larger day for Bitcoin. I mean, for Bitcoin, for the crypto industry in general. And that is the day you joined my show. And I got the picture up here of your inaugural. This is the first frame from the video when you appeared on the big screen in our old studio. Joining the show to give your outlook on Bitcoin. And that was 2 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Garcia has been the crypto chart analyst for a long time, but he's been the crypto chart analyst on this show for now 2 years. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? And Pedro and I were going over it. Yes, I do, because it was the Halloween episode, and I remember it because one of the people I featured on the episode turned out to be a scammer and stealing the stuff from a group that previously. I'm not going to link the two in a sentence, but a lot of the people in the old Operation Phoenix group were in this guy's group beforehand, and then the guy scammed them and stole all the money. So that was just awful. But I saw it coming. Anyway, this is not the place for that. But that was 2 years ago. It was a good video. It was Halloween. Put some extra graphics in. No, I didn't really go back and watch it. I just went and grabbed the screenshot.
I do. I remember. You asked me, where's Bitcoin going to be?
Oh, right. I remember.
Oh, yeah. So, long story short for our viewers,
it's where the whole thing about up and down. Yeah, you tell it.
I basically said to him, look, because you want to know, where is it going to be by the end of the day or the end of the week? And I said, no, that's not what you said. You said, what is it going to do? Is it going to go up or go down? I said, well, neither. It's in between some moving averages. It's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, then go up, then go down. And then, and you were like, what? And I said, no, that's what it's going to do. I'm telling you, it's what it's going to do. And it was, what was it, Cinco de Pedro? Every Monday we were going to do?
Right, we were going to do, I was going to insert 5 minutes of Pedro's commentary into every show, so I called it Cinco de Pedro. Obviously a play on Cinco de Mayo here in the U.S., but we quickly got away from that because we had to do 60 minutes of Pedro or 120 minutes of Pedro.
What was it? Here's the thing. Not because I was so loquacious in my analysis but because people kept asking more questions.
Right, exactly. That's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years of Pedro Garcia. Helped me celebrate that by dropping some comments in there saying, thank you, Pedro. Thank you. Drop as many comments as you can. Even you people on X, go through to the broadcast screen, click the tweet itself, opens up a comment section, drop a few comments. We appreciate it. Shane Storr says, word. That's all you get, Pedro. That was it.
Word.
Although I think since we're doing it through StreamYard, I think I got a 30-second delay on this, so hopefully we will see some.
Now, I also want to shout out to...
Jen H says no Diddy. No Diddy on our show. No.
No. Damn, for 5 minutes, Pedro to 2-hour Pedro. Nice. God Almighty, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll be here all day.
Try the veal.
Trying to be. But what's interesting, I think, also just jumping back a little bit to what we're seeing with legislation, it's going to be really interesting to see as Trump, if, again, I'm always a little bit timid, right? Because I don't want to sit there and assume too much that he is going to be in office. But it's going to be really interesting to see the scrambling that's going to happen with crypto. I know that Chris has talked about how it's very hard, for the Democrats because they're staunch in, orange man bad, crypto bad because he supports. But I think this is where it's going to happen because so much money is going to be generated.
Yeah.
Through crypto, and so much income is going to be distributed and innovation through jobs, as well as seeing money come back into the U.S. Because of it, I think they'll have to change from Orange Man bad, he supports crypto bad, to maybe Orange Man bad, but we want to be good for the American people, so we're going to accept this. Almost like a step kid that somebody don't want, or a foster kid that the dad didn't want, right? Like some way to be able to sit there and say, because by ignoring that and sitting there saying you're bad on this. Remember we talked about this? I go, the swing states, the deciding vote is literally crypto. How are you going to sit there and ignore that?
Right.
And so, and they hurt themselves, and they realize they hurt themselves in this sense. So it's one of those moments that I think is going to be a deciding moment. I think the centralist Democrats are going to have to pull themselves away and delineate themselves between the ultra left woke Dems. And they're going to have to make a huge delineation between that within Congress and within the Senate. And I expect something like that to happen because they need it. If they do not do it, then they're not going to be reelected. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I do expect to see. What's up, Ariel? It's good to see you again, brother. Been a minute. It's been a minute to see you. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Tom?
There's so many shows we could have that could talk about all of those. But before I answer that, I'm going to insert a quick programming note because we're coming up on a time thing here.
Oh, yes.
I was going to have let me get this off the screen here. At 1:40, we're supposed to switch over to the Crypto Swamp Creatures here, their new episode coming out. I switched it to 1:50 to give us a few more minutes to talk here, Pedro. But following this episode, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to raid, because YouTube now can raid. We're going to raid the Crypto Swamp Creatures, which is a DYOR Media exclusive podcast from our friends Chris Alexander and Justin Wallin here. Both Washington, D.C. think tank wonkety-wonk guys that wear suits and ties to talk about crypto and the junction of politics. Today, this episode, they're just talking about politics and how campaign messaging works. And it's interesting. They do it in the same way that Pedro and I do it. They use edutainment to get the word out. It's only a 15-minute episode, so when our show ends at 1:50 here Eastern Time, stick around and you'll be auto-magically redirected right into their episode.
By the way, good job on that. Go ahead.
So we'll be doing that right at 1:50. So we have about 15 minutes here to talk about how to solve the problems of everything else in the world. Now, Pedro and I can do that. We can talk, as Pedro just said, he is loquacious. Don't confuse that word with odious. It's the loquacious is the verb or the act of speaking, and not the act of smelling. And because
no spelling on me.
No, I'm saying that because I am sitting here in my own filth, having not showered yet today. So I just thought I'd pass that all on to you, ladies and gentlemen. But join us for the Crypto Swamp Creatures here in a little bit. Let's see who's giving us a shout out here. Weibo from Ariel. Of course, thanks for joining us for the Weibo crowd. God Almighty says, Raid, God is going to use his powers to redirect everybody. Crypto Mike in the house. Crypto Mike is turning into a social media guru here with his TikTok lives and everything. He's got a new Telegram room that he talks in and posts stuff called the Casual Crypto or something like that. Anyway, Mike posted somewhere so people can find it.
Dude. His TikTok guru is growing. Have you seen it?
Yeah, you know, he did a live on it. Got like 700 people live on it.
Like, shout out, dude. 700 people. Boom. That's a big deal. Like, shout out to Crypto Mike for building that. That's dope. Keep it going, brother.
Oh, all right. But I did the programming note and I forgot what your question was, Pedro.
Oh, my question basically was, what are your thoughts on literally the delineation, why is that so hard for me to say?
Delineation?
The separation between uber left wokeism Democrats to a common central right and left versus far left and far right.
My first opinion of that is that it's very difficult right now for our view of what the center is to ever again regain the high ground. And the reason is that basically the center people are all dying. The people that grew up in a younger age, a long time ago, the baby boomers, they're reaching the age like Donald Trump's age, that type of stuff. Donald Trump is obviously more right than other people, but the people that are traditionally center and level-headed are being replaced by the young activist crowd, which has grown up differently than previous generations because of social media and platforms like ours. Here, everyone's able to put their word out, and if it's any good at all or appeals to any audience, you'll get an audience. And so that means that the younger generation now is having an outsized influence on the world of politics, because now they can get their voice out, which before you had to be an accomplished person and have access to the media to get your voice out. Now you and I can grab a microphone and be like, wah, 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 we're right, you're wrong, get lost. Off with their head. And so I would say with that extreme woke left and the far right, they're going to stay like that. They're going to stay like that until you can get somebody that has the popularity of Donald Trump to be a centrist and to come on and say, look, I have become the president. I'm going to sit with everybody here. We got to say, what do we need to get done in these next 4 years? That's the best for the nation. Not best for my group or against your group. What do we need to do? We need to fix A, B, and C. All right, let's start with A, and let's then work to B. Let's pick up the low-hanging fruit, fix all that, and get a couple of major things done. And then we'll move on to a second administration, because you guys will all love Mr. Centrist President or Mrs. Centrist President. And it's going to take someone like that to do it. And that will only happen when people are sick of the extremes, I think. And I think we're getting to that point. We're getting to the point where we're sick of the extremes. I am. I'm sick of I am sick of people thinking that someone like Mitt Romney is not would be a good thing for the U.S. A centrist politician that can work with both sides and get something done. I saw Newt Gingrich on television last night. The ass hat of them all. He started out the entire separation, and his goal was whatever they do, we do the opposite, and we say how it all. They're enemies, and this is war. And it's such a wrong avenue to take for politics. I can see in some countries where it literally is war, like they just shoot the other president, but not in the U.S. In the U.S., we've had a bipartisan world for a long time. Obviously, politics isn't everything. I get that. But to think that it's war and whatever that guy says is awful and whatever we say is great,
it's stupid. It's literally stupid.
Newt started it. He's such an ass. Did you know that Newt Gingrich married his high school geometry teacher? That was his first marriage.
That should have told you right off the jump.
He was 19. Apparently, they were already, his high school geometry teacher was, committing acts of whatever.
We don't need to go there.
That's how it should have started.
I don't want to vilify him. I want to say this. The man separated systems that should have stayed together. Right.
Yeah,
and for the betterment of our country.
All right, let's hit some comments before we run out of time here. It's a bridge too far at this point. We collapse before that happens. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think a collapse is, but I think short-sighted people having even more influence could wreak havoc. Like I'll just use the words, even if the algorithm clicks us off here. When people talk about, well, there'll be civil war, all these idiots that say that, they don't realize that as soon as anything violent happens at all, there's no more food distribution. There's no like, oh, I'm going to get a new truck, new F-150 this year, and there's no jobs. There's no that. The economy comes to a complete halt, and it's over. And so that option is not something that anyone wants, right? Nobody wants the economy and everything in your life and your safety and your wealth and your value and your family to come to a complete halt. Nobody wants it. If anyone does, we're putting you on the first spaceship to Mars, the one that's going to crash, and you can be the trial for that. But anyway, go ahead, Pedro.
No, I was going to say, I put it like this. Look, my next door neighbor, we had different thoughts on politics, right? He calls me, I can't say, but he says, basically pick a side is really what he says to me.
Mike, that's correct.
And I think one of the things I think is so interesting, though, is there was somebody walking through a neighborhood in an area that isn't necessarily like, it's a good area. You know what I'm saying? And so he calls me up. He goes, "You see that guy walking by, bro? For real? Like you're a Dem and you're doing this?" Like I was like, and he goes, "Yeah, but you see me? I think he's looking at cars." I go, "I see him. He's just chilling on his phone, bro. That's all he's doing. You see him talking, moving his hands." And I just thought it was so funny because it was like when it comes down to it, push comes to shove. Like if we have a civil war or something happens, we're both going to be on, because where I live becomes my tribe. Right.
Right.
And so I may have different views than him, but if there's a civil war, right, he's not going to run over to his buddies over there because it's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? We become tribal. It's literally in our genetic wiring. And then it would be just a fuck-all disaster. The strongest, the most smartest alpha guy wins. That's it. So do we want
the guy
that?
with the spikes? The guy with the spikes sticking out of the bat, like on Walking Dead. What was his name? I can't remember that. That would be a disaster for everyone. The cities would empty out. The transportation would come to a halt. Logistics would come to a halt. Nothing would work. The electricity would last another, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and then that would be over. And then we have 350 million people starving, and that's that.
Yeah.
This is easy, God Almighty. I'm choosing your side. If that happens, I'm choosing your side. AI Alpha Wolf says, "I'm all confused. Thought it was full rant Fridays, ain't it?" Yes, it is. But on a programming note, because of our weird schedule this week, we did a DYOR live. In 5 minutes, we're going to do a 15-minute episode of the Crypto Swamp Creatures, which we're going to raid right here. All you have to do is stay on the broadcast here on YouTube, on Twitch or Twitter or Kick, or Rumble. Also, you got to come out and find us. Go ahead.
And then also, don't forget, guys, Quiff, chat stay if you guys don't mind. Also, help raid that. We'd really appreciate that. If not, it's cool. But that does help us out quite a bit. Go ahead, bud.
And then I was saying, after full rant, after the Crypto Swamp Creatures premiere of their episode today, Pedro is going to open up the X Spaces for a full rant Friday.
Yeah, and what full rant Friday is people come on, people rant, meaning you can talk whatever you want. You rant your rants, you talk your talk. You get it. And last week you actually had a guy who come on and complain about what was actually happening in Mexico and how the cartel was literally passing.
That was some serious shit, man.
It was. I was like,
he's like, they got the president elected, so now they're gonna do whatever they want.
Yeah, it was real. I sat there and I was like, and he goes, and it's gonna affect all your guys' produce that we bring up there. Like, y'all gonna be hurting. You don't even know about it yet, but you are. I was like,
yeah. Well, I there is a little difference in that if if they cause the price of that to rise too high, we won't buy from them. Produce is a real commodity. It's grown in the U.S. It's grown all over the world, and with air freight, you can transport. I mean, FedEx and UPS move a lot of produce via air freight, so they have market pressures. They can't say, give me 70, a 25% tax if it pushes the price up too high and no one buys it. And the farmers are like, okay, we're out of business. And cartel will go, oh, okay, well, it's a little less tax. And, Mike, Crypto Mike, and you Canadians and stuff, Trump can only serve one more term. The way it works is you're allowed to serve 2 terms as president, or if you, like Lyndon Johnson, became president because of an assassination, if it's more than 2 years, then you can run one time again. But if it's less than 2 years, then you can run twice again. Or you can change the Constitution. And before President Trump became president, when he won the election, but before he was inaugurated, he mentioned, I've got 2 terms ahead of me. Well, I could go longer if we just make a few changes. That was an insinuation for changing the Constitution. It's not going to happen because you need like 3/4 of the nation to agree on it, and 3/4 of the nation are not going to agree on anything with Trump.
And that's the part that I'm a little bit I'm afraid of a Caesar kicking in, right? Where, anyways, and we've talked about this. I've talked about this here. Him going in. I mean, the idea of the Messiah, him being a Messiah, and him we're seeing. It's kind of nerve wracking. I don't like it. He hasn't really talked it down, and you're seeing, Jewish people, Christian people, hailing him like he's a Messiah figure. So it's a little nerve wracking for me.
He's talking. He's talking about that guy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we only got 2 minutes left here. A big thank you to everyone at KWIF for coming and joining us today. We had some great numbers today on X. And even, let me check on Rumble. Not so great on Rumble today, but with that thumbnail, I bet you we'll get a lot of good replays on Rumble for that.
Yeah. Shout out to our Rumble crew over there. All you guys, we appreciate you coming in, helping us out. If you guys could, when you watch the replays, please hit the share button. It always helps us so much. We're always trying to grow the network, and we're always trying to make things better here. And so by you guys simply going out there and doing that, it does help us out quite a bit. Hit that like and even a comment. If you guys have any questions for us to go look at, talk about, we'll definitely go research, and we can bring on experts and talk about things we need to talk about. So thank you so much.
Let's see what else we got here. We got 1 minute left. I try to do this so it's fun and entertaining. But the Crypto Swamp Creatures are a group that's just wonderful. It's a great addition to our network here. We're also going to have shows coming out that address more of the legal side of the business from the Legal Blockchain Institute, Blockchain Legal Institute, from Jackie Cooper and friends there. And also, we're always looking for sponsors too. Remember, go to DYORnetwork.media if you're looking to sponsor anyone. I'm going to end the show now and rate it. Everyone on YouTube's going to be kicked over to the new stream, so join us there. I'll be live in the comments, and so will Pedro. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll see you with the Crypto Swamp Creatures.